All right, thank you, Greg. Briefly recapping the top story coverage of further developments from Queen's Park, where there are more and more signs of an impending provincial election. Our political specialist, Colin Vaughn, will have that story. We bring you the first city pulses from our new home at Queen and John Streets. This will be the last broadcast from this building. But before we go, here's a look around at some of the corridors we've known to come and love over the last 10 years.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne.
And so we take our leave from 99 Queen Street East here in the control room, and for the last time we say thanks for tuning in. Now back to our new headquarters at 299 Queen Street West. J.D. Roberts standing by.
Thanks very much, Gord. It's been a grueling 15-hour day as everyone went through their paces in preparation for our first City Pulse telecast from our new headquarters tomorrow. We've got your spot all marked out, Gord, and we're all set for you to anchor as we hit a new milestone in television information. And that's this edition of City Pulse. Gord Martineau has the next tomorrow evening at 6. Until then, thanks for joining us. Good night.
Questioning her happiness, a woman fantasizes about being married to other men. Susan St. James stars and I Take These Men. Tomorrow night at 8 on Great Movies. Stay tuned now as Denise Donlin and Lori Brown bring you the new music next.
'99. All this week, Colin Vaughn and Greg Rist will be taking you on an intimate tour of our new facility here at 299 Queen West. Although the building is very new to us, we are certainly not the first tenants, and tonight Colin introduces us to some of the people who were here before us.
To look at it is to fall in love with it. I love its history. I love the fact that it housed one of the original communications corporations. You know, intelligence companies in the country. So I wonder, who are the ghosts that we will encounter?
Well, this whole corner of John Street and Peter and Queen was the site of Sir John Beverly Robinson's estate. And right along on Queen Street here, where you see a chain link fence now, until about 1960, there was the original wall of the John Beverly Robinson estate.
My father worked here, and this Friday night, their only salesman had vanished. He had been, was on a binge, and he hadn't appeared for a week, and the customers were demanding service. So he said, how would you like, would you come in Monday morning? Books were the only method of keeping abreast of like Maclean's magazine. Most hymn books that we printed, that is United Church or Methodist hymn books, had gilt edges. And we had 7 men who worked all day long doing nothing but gilding the edges of books. Originally, we started out with the Bell Telephone. Bell was their directory. Then with Eaton's catalog, then with Simpson's, And when the Simpson catalog was being mailed out, our staff would jump by 1,100.
When I first came here, it was all mahogany and dark wood and stained. The Ryerson Press, which formerly was the Methodist book publishing house, had been in existence since 1829. The first publishing company in Canada. All sorts of authors oozing out of all the walls here. Roberts, you know, and people such as Dr. Lauren Pierce, who was the editor for many years, and a great many of the artists in Toronto did work for us in book publishing, book design. And Hilton Hassel did the design for the anniversary issue of Anne of Green Gables, which we did.
We're very keen on the future, but equally keen on preserving the best of the past. We try and get away from the artificial separation between people who think up shows in little boxes called offices and people who go off and execute these shows in big boxes called studios. And since studios are very artificial, it takes a lot of huffing, puffing, tremendous amount of attention to detail, and huge amounts of money to attempt to approximate real life. What we've done here is we've combined the shooting process with the editorial process and the technology so that you are much closer to shooting the real thing.
Certain things wrong always when you do these kind of things, right? So we somebody measured the base of the camera. They built an elevator. Unfortunately, the elevator is smaller than the base of the camera.
Would you get that fixed, please, right away? Tomorrow, the architecture at 299 and how we've preserved it while adapting the building to our needs.
You know, the inside of the building may have changed 1, 2, half a dozen, 20 times, who knows, but the outside is still the same, and it's quite a landmark for downtown Toronto.
Well, you're going to get an interesting rundown on that tomorrow. The building is Gothic revival, which was very prevalent in Toronto at about the turn of the century. I spoke to an architectural historian who's given a brilliant discourse on why Gothic. The people at that time believed that Gothic architecture, because it was medieval and Christian, improved people. So maybe it'll turn out
Perhaps
better.
there'll be an improvement in all of us.
Exactly.
Thank you, Colin. We'll watch for that tomorrow night. In the meantime, a bit of a chilly start of our look at 299 Queen Street West. Tonight, architecture and aesthetics. Colin Vaughn tells us, from the beginning, the simplified Gothic style of 299 Queen Street West was an attempt to merge past with present.
Burke Horwood and White designed this building were the traditional Methodist architects. They built in Gothic for really two reasons. It does what it does for cities today. It picks the building out in the streetscape. It's different from the general run of industrial buildings. Gothic wasn't just a style for churches. It was really a symbol of almost a better possibility for mankind. Gothic was both a fashionable style and a significant style. They believed that Gothic could, almost by osmosis, make men better. The fact that they've removed the pointed arches and sorted it out to just horizontals and verticals, it's clearly a commercial building. They're not trying to print books in a church. It all worked out in terracotta. Terracotta is basically like the pots that you use for flower pots. They use the symbolic forms, the things that your eye can catch, so that you get these roundels above the first floor windows, and then the panels between the second floor windows. It's Gothic detail, but severely simplified. They wanted to say clearly it was 1913, but that they needed the past, and they were using the past as part of the modern world.
The terracotta is undergoing a long-term program of restoration. It has now been cleaned, stabilized, loose material has been removed, and now we're just getting into the surveying and replacement of damaged pieces. There are different ways of patching it and dealing with broken units, either basically replacing units or building up with patching material. Those are the two basic techniques. I would guess it'll take 4 to 5 years to complete.
I've coined a name for this style of architecture. It's called low-tech decorated.
Low-tech, high-tech.
No, it's low-tech.
We talked in terms of interactivity and a building that would be capable of shooting itself And to that effect, you see these red devices. They've come to be known as hydrants, which represent our ability to power up audio and video, sync, intercom, and light in an almost infinite variety of spaces.
So the whole building is a movie set?
Yeah, you can think of it as an infinite number of changing environments in which you can photograph the real life of the people who make and bring you the station. Beyond that, in terms of aesthetic flourishes, we had an affection for little touches, flourishes that related to the modern design movement of the turn of the century. We all were acquainted with and liked a little bit of the Oriental inspirations of a guy like Charles Rennie Mackintosh, and out of all of that came these little touches around the doorways and so on that suggest a little bit of things Japanese and Chinese.
I noticed that I think it's rather Egyptian, you see. When I see these little door things, I think it's inside there will be a sarcophagus. And the lid will come up and Moses will sit up and sort of say...
A television set will ride. In this area, we're going to have a little... Well, I call it laughingly the City TV store. It's a place where we can display and sell to those people who are visiting the building all our trinkets, our various T-shirts and sweatshirts and shoelaces. Past the City TV store, though, you look onto the orientation area, a little amphitheater, which is, as I say, visible from the street, and which will be the place that people are officially welcomed. They're given their first little welcome to City TV. Follow on from there to an actual tour of the building.
You're really conscious of the corridors. What's the concept behind that?
We think of them as streets. They're actual main arteries.
Well, this is a highway and here's the town.
And these are the little houses and communities and addresses which define individuals and the work that they do. The colors chosen, the kinetic energy of the picture in it says to you, oh yeah, that's City TV, that's Much Music. Spirit is at the heart of the television station, and this kind of building in this location in the dead center of downtown would add something to the spirit of our work, and that one way or another that would translate to better programming, better audiences, and ultimately better business.
And tomorrow, how we've adapted to suit the building and how 299 has evolved to suit City TV.
Thank you, Colin. The weather is straight ahead with David Onley. That was a beautiful... 9 Queen Street West. Greg Grist tells us what an accomplishment it is to move an entire television station. But first, Colin Vaughn examines how our programming has changed to suit our new home.
In stereo, this is the nation's music station. Much Music. May 4th, 1987. This is Toronto.
For us, it's convenient because it's our office, it's our studio. We can shoot whatever we want in the space whenever we want.
We're bringing the everywhere concept of the streets of Toronto, and we're placing it in our own newsroom. We're everywhere throughout the newsroom.
4 o'clock every day from now on, the Toronto Rocks will be on the air at the same time as Much Music's on the air. It's Mary Tyler Moore for real. You know, it's like our secretaries get fan mail. Moments ago, there were dueling newscasts here. John Burgess was doing City Pulse Entertainment News as Laurie Brown was doing Much Music News. We've been trying to do that for a long time. Get rid of that glass, you know, in the front of the TV screen. You may remember all the old ladies used to get dressed up to watch television. You know, well, we believe that things have changed since then. I do. That's why it's storefront. Is they drag people in, make them feel as if they're part of the community. We're part of their communities. And we've taken that, which is essentially City TV's attitude, and we're trying to do it nationally. You know, like the electronic railroad across Canada, you know, of Much Music. And it's working. It's great. It's fun.
We didn't really have a space before because we were a show that came on late in the game. This was designed for us, and even built the brick wall here was simulating what we had before, and it seems to still work. We now have an area to interview in, which we didn't have. I don't feel limited to this space. I think that we can shoot all over the building, and we have as we introduce people to our new building. We didn't even have this space ready, so it was all possible to use. I like the idea of using the patio just outside there. That'll be nice. And we use the hallways. And well, we do stories on architecture, too. In fact, our first story was about the architecture of this building.
Well, Colin, we've pioneered specialties and people with feet, and you've always been a big part of the content of our show, and now you're going to be a big part of the show itself. We're going to highlight the politics, the crime, the money, the environment, all the specialists that we have on tap, all the idiosyncratic characters that we call the City Pulse personalities are going to become part of the show. We're breaking down the barriers of traditional newscasting, and we're speaking with the folks. A lot of movement. The newsroom is our set. Cord Martineau is the voice of City Pulse. He's been the voice of City Pulse for 10 years, and he will walk throughout the newsroom and bring you the stories from the people who are out in the streets, the Vaughns, the Muskowskis, the Honickmans, the Dailies, and that's City Pulse.
What we've discovered so far is that history and architecture and interior decor and production are cool, but television's a hot medium, and with some of the jive, here's Greg Grist.
All this technology is great, but you need a lot of forethought and a lot of work to put a television station together. Let's just see what City TV was like a few weeks ago. Now, the essence of any good move is in planning. All the desks have been marked out on the floor in masking tape, and, this is my future little spot, and here's our environment set, all mocked out in paper.
This is when the news racks move. That is the final part. Hopefully we'll be okay. That's when the ISN uplink moves, the live eye moves.
We've been working on the planning, I guess, for the newsroom for 2.5 years now. It's become more intensive in the last little while, of course, when we're getting down to the details, but things are going well.
You have a channel. If you lift one up. If you lift one up.
But for these two desks here, why can't I just mark
There's your power. There's your power.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is the cable.
We're moving about 100 people. Besides the hardware, there's the personal space, and, you know, everybody has their own little knickknacks that they like on their desk and everything, and you got to look after that. Phones, power, people have typewriters, computers, everything, just everything.
Okay, so put the on-air monitor here and the live eye monitor here.
Right. Small ones, pushed in right to the back.
We'll try, you know, we'll experiment once we get in, but...
One would expect an organization the size of City TV to hire dozens of movers and the largest van available. As a television station, though, we cannot stop to move, so everything must go slowly and carefully, piece by piece. The entire building is being moved in one step van by 2 men.
What are you moving today?
Master control switcher.
What do you figure that thing's worth?
More than a car.
More than a car?
Our move has been going on for the last 3 months. Over 3,000 boxes of personal effects and countless tapes have to be moved. And countless memories must be left behind.
I love you.
Little wild, wild life.
But I have no home for my old ties. These used to be in style when I first came to City Pulse.
Yeah, Elliot Trudeau.
Geez, Greg, do you think they'll let me keep my Three Stooges picture, put that on the new wall?
I don't think so.
What?
Oh, nice guy, eh?
What about the Marx Brothers?
Oh, wait a second. I remember this. I did a series once on how to be an employee. This was my Simpsons ID card. How do you like that? I was a shoe salesman in the women's shoe department. Isn't that funny? Yeah, what a guy.
Now, as much as we love that old building, it is nice to move. I mean, just look at this new weather set. And we're not finished yet. There's still $120,000 worth of equipment to go in this set. Isn't technology wonderful?
Poof. And tomorrow, Greg shows us the plugs, sockets, and wires that make this place tick. And in about 2 minutes, I'll show you what makes the forecast tick. Stay tuned.
It takes a lot of technology to bring us into your living rooms each evening, and tonight Greg Riss shows us the wires behind the walls.
When City TV first started, it had a few cameras and a few microphones. Its technical needs weren't all that great. But now, as things have progressed, it's just gotten more and more complicated. All this wiring, this has just come out of one control room. How much more do you need?
Engineer's log. Our 6-month mission to wire 299 Queen Street West before City Pulse goes to air.
Joe, I'm a technician, not a magician.
As far as wiring is concerned, we would have at least twice to 3 times the amount of wiring that other people would have in a normal place. It has never been tried before, so we had to rethink the complete philosophy, and you have to change people's attitude to thinking towards how to do it. We're doing it differently.
How many wires do you figure you've put in here so far?
This particular patch field has about 2,000, and this is a small patch field. Overall, we must have 30,000 wires.
Lay those wires end to end, and they would stretch over 300 kilometers, some of them costing as much as $24 a meter.
Now, a constant problem we reporters are coming up against is fighting with the miles and miles of cable. Well, they've alleviated that problem in the newsroom. There's over 60 different points to plug a microphone into. Throughout the building, there are 50 individual points where cameras can be plugged in using a special cable. There's even units down in the basement, should you want to shoot down there. Brian Linehan can do his interviews from the comfort of his own office.
Which one day will look like this.
There is also access to the president's office, Moses Znaimer. Nice place, eh? Hello, Diane. About Mr. Riss' raise.
Want to do what? I can't believe it.
Sorry. One of the most advanced units that Chum City owns is their ACE editor and ADO. This combination of machine allows them to do all those fancy flips, wipes, and turns.
It fades out halfway through the spin, which is coming right up. This is considered a post-video production house, and people bring their tapes, their graphics, their audio to us, and we assemble it and package a show, or package their commercials, or package their promos, package whatever they wish us to do, whatever the client wants. Pretty much we can do within this edit suite.
Pretty impressive for $2 million worth of equipment.
But you still need people to operate it. Mr. Editor, can you beam us out of here?
Tomorrow on Part 5 of Greg's series, he points out our unique style here at 299 Queen Street West. Straight ahead, the weather with David On.